Spoiler warning, do not watch this if you have not beaten Spec Ops The Line. Seriously, go play it. Hey everybody, this is AJmon, and today I'm going to be analyzing Chapter 12, The Rooftops. Now this chapter opens with Delta Squad being tasked with finding Radioman, the DJ who has taunted Delta Squad since their arrival in Dubai. He can even be considered the game's primary antagonist from the player's perspective. Now, something a lot of players forget to remember is the helicopter at the beginning of this chapter. It quickly flies above, and then we forget about it. Now, in most games, a helicopter signifies enemy reinforcements, and that is mentioned, but there's really no definite sign of this given Radioman's implied importance to the damned 33rd. There could already have been plenty of soldiers stationed here, and one helicopter can only provide so many more. I'll come back to this, though. Soon after that is a neat pseudo-stealth segment where you can overhear a conversation of some snipers about a pack of cigarettes. It's nothing overly exciting, but it's a moment where Jaeger wants you to consider who it is you're about to kill. Soon afterwards, a firefight inevitably breaks out, and Nowhere to Run by Martha Reeves and the Vandellas begins to play. It's appropriate in a few ways, and on the obvious level, Radioman mentions, "I'm not stuck up here with you, you're stuck up here with me," eerily similar to a statement later made.
Where is Conrad?
Where he's always been, upstairs, waiting for you.
So, literally, the song implies you're intended to die and will not escape. It can be interpreted through the lyrics that this is reflective of the relationship between Walker and Conrad, or possibly even Walker and the Radioman himself. After killing a dozen or so Americans, as well as some snipers on a nearby rooftop, you must travel down an extremely long zipline where Walker and Conrad share a conversation.
I have to try, Colonel. It's the only way.
And you damn them all.
Now, during this encounter, you actually don't need to execute Adams. In two ways. For one, you could do nothing, you can get shot and die. Otherwise, you can shoot the soldier, allowing Walker to shrug off the encounter, which prevents Lugo and the real Adams from questioning why the soldier on the floor was so brutally murdered. Now, regardless of how you decide to kill the soldier, though, Radioman will still bring up his infamous line. In the next room, there's three large paintings of dogs. Previously, I've always shrugged this off, thinking it's just a bit of comic relief from the developers, or at least a red herring in terms of this chapter's tone. While it might be a stretch, there are three paintings of dogs and three members in Delta Squad. Dogs obey humans and are considered man's best friend. These paintings appear immediately after being forced by the game to murder what appears to be your squad mate and friend. Also, consider the lead writer Walt Williams was heavily inspired from BioShock and his time working with the writers at 2K.
You spot him. Lugo and I'll knock him down.
Now, coming up is the reason I wanted to do this video in the first place. A banner on Radioman's tower that reads, "Tune in or out at 97.6 for the truth." It took me way too long to consider this, but I did a quick search online for 97.6, and it turns out that it relates to a very specific line in the Bible. "The heaven proclaim his righteousness, and all people see his glory." Now the full verse is something more like this. "The Lord reigns, let the earth be glad, let the distant shores rejoice. Clouds and thick darkness surround him. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Fire goes before him and consumes his foes on every side. His lightning lights up the world, the earth sees and trembles. The mountains melt like wax before the Lord of all the earth. The heavens proclaim his righteousness, and all peoples see his glory. All who worship images are put to shame. Those who boast in idols worship him, all you gods. Zion hears and rejoices, and the villages of Judah are glad because of your judgments, Lord. For you, Lord, are the most high over all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods. Let those who love the Lord hate evil, for he guards the lives of his faithful ones and delivers them from the hand of the wicked. Light shines on the righteous, and joy on the upright in heart. Rejoice in the Lord, you who are righteous, and praise his holy name." Now, I'm far from the religious type, but this can be used to draw analogies to several things in Spec Ops The Line. Primarily the Radioman himself, who, from the viewpoint of civilians in Dubai, is very much a godlike being, coming from a high-up tower miles away. Think Tower of Babel. He is the voice of a force that dictates who can eat and drink, or live for that matter. The Radioman does have a comforting and reassuring voice, albeit a bit sarcastic, though you can also use the psalm to relate to either Conrad or Walker in terms of their search for approval and feeling like they have done no wrong, or to the gameplay of modern military shooters in the power fantasy. The entire 33rd fails to kill 3 men, and from their perspective, Delta Squad would appear as gods or demons. The interior of Radioman's abode is psychedelic. It's at least a nod to his hippie styling and characteristics, Radioman himself more likely being an homage to Dennis Hopper's character from Apocalypse Now. Whether or not the wall art and graffiti are literally there, or merely Walker's imagination of what the Radioman's interior should be like, is unknown. Given the unique artistic style and sudden jump in color, it could go either way. In the same room, we find an audio log with a very ambiguous message.
Turns out our favorite DJ used to be one Robert Darden. Worked with Rolling Stone for years. He was the Hunter Thompson of celebrity fluff pieces. Darden had obviously tuned out by the time we got here. But looking at his notes, it seems he'd been trying his hand at some honest-to-God journalism. Notes on the evacuation cover-up, the tragedy, the human cost. Maybe his time among the soldiers washed some of the bullshit off him. Who knows? But it's a genuine shame this, Bob Darden, will never meet his deadline. The cost of our presence here continues to grow.
What does Walker mean tuned out? Mentally? Physically? It's also revealed the Radioman's real name is Robert Darden, though I'm unclear what this could be a reference to, if anything. Immediately upon walking into the room with Radioman, there's a fade to white, meaning the upcoming scene is at least partially a hallucination. It's the only time we speak or even see Radioman in person. Now notice how this scene's tone differs from almost every other in the game.
Hey, guys. like that's a real gun. I mean, come on. Clock's ticking, Lugo.
Yeah, I'm on it. This deck's custom, so I'm gonna need a minute.
What's that sound? Those voices?
Easy there, G.I. Joe. That's just a cloud echo. We hear that shit all the time.
A what?
It's a signal bouncing off the storm wall.
Hey now, check out the Whiz Kid.
That was textbook. You're the guy who built a citywide broadcast system for spare parts. That's impressive.
Oh, well, you know. You said it, not me.
Like, I see where you boosted the transmitter, but how far does this thing really go?
To infinity and beyond! Or the storm wall. Same difference.
Now you're just fucking with me.
Oh, ye of little faith. You are live and on the air, my good man. Give it a shot.
Wow. That was easier than I expected. Thanks. Get the fuck off me, man!
Have you lost your fucking mind?
Are you really this fucking naive? He kept the 33rd on our ass this whole time. He wasn't gonna let us just walk out of here. I did what was necessary.
You don't get to make that call.
Well, fuck you. I just did.
That's enough! We'll deal with this later. To anyone who can hear me, I'm the commander of an American evacuation force. We're here to rescue you. But first, the 33rd will pay for what they've done.
I'm disappointed in you, Walker. No one leaves Dubai. I tried. 1,300 men, women, children dead because of my arrogance. And now you want to finish off the rest? If you will not learn from my mistakes, then there's nothing more I can do. Your butcher's bill is high enough. Goodbye, Captain.
Buck, take cover!
So much for the evacuation.
What now?
We're trapped. That helo's our only way off this roof. There's a lot of gun between here and there. Into the tower. Move!
You two go. I'll cover you from here.
Like hell!
There's no time to argue. Now go!
Lugo's right. Come on!
The scene ends with Lugo murdering Radioman, who then argues with Adams while Walker sends a terrifying message to Dubai. The fact that neither Adams or Lugo are paying attention should at least be something of a concern. But really, you have to wonder, did Radioman ever exist? The answer I've come to accept is that he did, at least during Conrad's lifetime and most likely during Delta Squad's excursion, only to be rescued by a helicopter from the beginning of the chapter. It would still be feasibly possible for Radioman to continue sending messages to Delta Squad while away from the tower. If you skip the cutscene where you speak with Radioman, you end up standing next to a dead body in a chair, a body that was not necessarily shot. He could have been dead for hours or days. He could have committed suicide or overdosed. Considering the only scene of Radioman has a fade to white, we can't trust that the body is definitely the Radioman. It would certainly add up, but there's no definitive answer. It's also worth considering that Radioman was dead for around the same time as Conrad. The major issue with that theory is that Lugo and Adams respond to him on many occasions, but it can still be picked apart given the loose reasoning for Radioman to even be able to speak back and forth with you, and the probability of him having cameras everywhere, including the room you execute the fake Lugo in, well, it's harder and harder to believe, even in this Dubai. Before I close, I want to apologize for how long this video took. I was unhappy with my first cut of it, and I didn't want to release a really poorly made video. Thanks for waiting, everyone, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it.